dun 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 dun.
I don't even know what beat I'm dancing to, but you're doing it, and you're doing it. I'm going.
There we go. That was the original theme tune.
Oh,
back in the day.
My brain.
No. No. I was just being silly. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Black and Orange here on the Black and Orange channel. Normally I'm taking your questions out of the chat and what have you, but not tonight. It's the night before the 2022 midterm elections, and we are here to just relax and look at some astrology charts and be snarky. And there's an Alfie sighting.
Yeah.
And the wonderful Sarah's here. Thank you for being here.
Hello. So I'm over here and I'm like, 'twas the night before midterms. And
we don't want to lose the house.
Yeah, I just insert. Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, goodness.
He's not going to hurt you, and he's not going to usurp your place in the world. He's got to figure out where his brother's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice, Bailey. Bailey. Yeah, you. Bailey. Stop it. Bailey. Okay, hang on. See, I just had to stand up. It is like having kids.
Yes. Don't make me get out this chair.
Don't make me get out this chair. Okay, everybody. All right. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to. Oh, Azalea, thank you. Thank you.
Very sweet of you.
Thank you. Oh, and I got another belated birthday up here. I'm sorry, I missed it. It went zipping past earlier on. Sorry about that. But thank you, everybody. All right, so I'm going to pull up some charts, and I'm just going to walk you through what I'm seeing, and unless we ran out of time setting this up, so we currently don't have any house races charts to look at. Although Marjorie Trader Green, we might need to make an exception. We might need to take the time to pull up her chart just because she's so awful. And I can show you on her chart.
Well, while you're fixing that, I can just be talking smack about other people, and it'll be great.
There you go.
So.
Oh, thank you, Zay. I'm glad you like the background. It's so nice that the people notice. Exactly, Sheila. Hang on tight, folks. Breathe. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let me share. Add to stream. All right. Now, if you don't know astrology, you don't have to. This is mostly for me. Oh, thank you, Eileen. Thank you. This is mostly for me. So I will be able to say, this, and this. But if you don't know, if you don't understand, that's totally fine.
That'd be me. I'm just here.
CC Rider, I haven't seen that yet, but I'll be happy to go look. This is the basic chart here, and there is a link over on Patreon. I'll have to find that link, but if you follow the link to Patreon in the description box, you can just do a search over there under Black and Orange, and there is a post. It's older, but there's a post in there that has a printout of this with the explanations, and it's totally free. You don't have to be a patron. You can just go get it and print it. So this gives you the basic chart if you want to learn, because once you have a lot of these basic things memorized like this, it's a lot of astrology, not all, but a big chunk of it is variations on a theme. So anyway, if you want to, but like I said, we're here to relax and talk, and I'll tell you what I'm seeing. All right. So if you don't understand, that's totally fine. Okay. The first thing I was going to look at was just show everybody. Some of this might be ground we went over the other day, but
Mhm.
Oh, at least says your chart is very helpful. Oh, good. So what is happening at 6 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning is there's going to be an eclipse. Yes, precious. There's going to be an eclipse, and it is going to be the last lunar eclipse. We're not having another lunar eclipse, full lunar eclipse, until 2025. But I can see the moon right there, and it's almost full. It looks full because the eclipse is going to be at 6 a.m. So that's not too far away. Because it's a lunar eclipse, you've got the Earth in the middle. You've got the sun on one side of us, and you've got the moon on the other. And with the lunar eclipse, what's happening is the Earth is passing between the moon and the sun exactly, which means the shadow of the Earth goes across the moon. That's what you have a lunar eclipse. It always happens at a full moon, and the dark thing going across the front, that's us. That's our shadow. Oh, and by the way, for any flat earthers out there, hi. Notice when the shadow goes across, it's not a sliver. It's a whole circle. And it can only be a whole circle if we're on a globe. Just pointing that out. Just throwing that out there. Okay. Oh, precious one, it's okay. Now,
He's agreeing with you.
Exactly. The sun and the moon are the biggest things in our sky. They're called the luminaries, and it's a big deal when they're perfectly aligned. So that's going to be the sun is your sense of self. The moon is your emotions.
Fabulous.
And if you have these in good aspect to each other, your head and your heart really work well together. This kind of opposition is like a seesaw. So your sense of self goes up, but your emotions go down, and then your emotions go up, but your sense of self goes down. And it does this when you have a sun and moon opposition in your chart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which can be good because it does make you feel better at times, but you've got to pay for it.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's very yin and yang. Yeah.
Yeah, up and down, up and down. Now,
Yeah.
What's happening, the reason that this is more than just, random eclipse. Thank you, guys. It's not random. It's important. This particular eclipse is important for a couple of reasons. One, it's landing on the U.S. election day. So it's going to have a big effect. And it's ground zero for a big bolt of energy. Also, there is this thing and actually I will go back up here and I will mention, because this is going to relate to the whole thing. This is going to relate to this is going to relate to every chart I'm going to go over tonight. You got your sun and your moon. Actually, that's the symbol of the sun right there, that little circle, a little donut. The international sign of the donut. Mars
Like
attacks.
donuts.
No,
Mhm.
Mars attacks. It's a quote. Anyway.
Yes.
And here's the moon. Now, at the same time, where the moon is in the chart is this weird looking thing. It looks like an H. That is Uranus, and it is the rebel. It rules Aquarius. Its axis is weird. It's on its side instead of straight up like ours and the other planets. It's crazy. Oh, Andre's here. Hello, Andre.
Hi.
Hello, Andre. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? How's everyone?
Good. We are relaxing, and just the night before the election, and I was just explaining something you know more about than, because we now have an expert in the room, and I was explaining how we've got the opposition of the sun and the moon, but we've also got Uranus, the same place the moon is.
True.
And that means that linked up with our emotions, we're going to be feeling a little rebellious. There's going to be a little rebellious, emotional rebellious energy in the air. So see the cat, even the cat's feeling rebellious.
Here, I'm going to scoot down here because there we go. Okay.
Oh, thank you. So we've got this unpredictable energy in Uranus, and that at a 90-degree angle to the whole thing, you've got Saturn.
Mhm.
So this, let me ungroup this. You have Uranus here, you've got Saturn down here. And you can kind of think of it as Saturn is not the life of the party. Saturn is the wet blanket. And to some extent, I'm wondering if it isn't a bit conservative, whereas the Uranus is going to be a little bit more progressive, open-minded, and I'm wondering if those energies on this eclipse are kind of the left and the right in our politics, kind of that those thinkings kind of butting heads a little bit, grinding against each other. So, okay, nodding's good. So, anyway, at the same, no, just keep an eye. Things. Well, if you start looking, Andra, if you start looking like, what is she talking about? Then I know then I worry, you know.
No, that's good. That's good because it's true that Saturn is the more conservative, and Uranus is the more the rebel and the one against that. And you would probably associate it with progressive. I remember back in 2008, there was an astrologer, well-known astrologer, Richard Tarnas, who mentioned that, I believe at the time, Saturn and Square were also doing something. And he said that Obama managed to seize the day by becoming Saturn, by being the more predictable person. And all of a sudden, McCain was looking like he was doing the unpredictable. And he flipped the script, which was really useful to Obama at the time. This one, though, I like the way you put that. But then which one of them wins out? You know, you wonder, since the moon is with Uranus, that's something, because Saturn is the one squaring that moon sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Uranus is with the moon. So you would almost think that Uranus might be the one, holding the upper hand. Maybe.
Yeah, well, I would hope, because one of the things that I've learned, because I've got this is called a T-square. This big, where you get a big long opposition, and then you've got something squaring both of them, 90-degree angles to both of them. So it looks like a T. When you have a T-square, because I have one in my chart, my understanding is a lot of this seesaw energy of opposition, some of that energy gets dumped out through the square.
It goes, it goes to the top of the T. So like in that case, it'd be Saturn. It's just that that's under a lot of tension, though. It's even more helpful if you get a trine to one of the corners, or a trine or a sextile to anything, because then you get an easier exit. But first rule would be, you're right. The top of the T is the exit to it's the way the person expresses the opposition, which I think with yours was what, Mars maybe? Or
Mars and Pisces.
You resort to violence?
Mars and Pisces? No. Mars and Pisces is not
just Mars. Not Mars and Pisces. Well, no.
No. I'm the person, who's like taking care of others and being patient. My Mars is surprisingly patient, but anyway. Well, we're not seeing a trine, but we do have another square here between Mars and Neptune with maybe a little Jupiter.
That one is the most telling around the tremendous tension in this election, because Mars just went retrograde, so it's still kind of stationary, so it's really parked in the sky and it's radiating a lot of energy, and it's near where the US Mars is, so it's actually triggering the Mars Neptune in the US chart, plus Neptune itself is transiting on the other end. So you're getting Neptune opposite Neptune, and Mars is dancing around. And Mars Neptune is the reason, a big reason why the country is just infested with disinformation and ideological battles. And Mars being there, I think I would be amazed if we didn't have a pretty contentious, election week. I'm pretty sure that nobody's going to be happy, or maybe some people will be happy and some people will be upset. But I would be totally amazed if it was a smooth, okay, it's over, everybody's decided, and I would not bet on that. That's unlikely. From what
I totally agree. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
This is what you were talking about with Neptune in the sky is opposite roughly opposite where. Oh no, actually, it's the Neptune one there. Yeah, it's opposite where Neptune was in the U.S. chart.
Correct.
And as Neptune transits, it is in our history that there are important things that happen in our history. Say when Neptune gets to the 90 degrees away, and then 180, and then back up here, and then conjunct. And the last time that Neptune in the sky was opposite Neptune in the U.S. chart was the Civil War.
Correct.
But I do try to tell people that we got through that. When I have a very simplistic way of describing retrograde, which is it's like you want to go out the door, you want to leave, but you take a step out and then you go, oh wait, and you back up a couple of steps and you're like, did I get that paperwork? Do I have my keys? Do the cats have water? You just last minute, just like, did I miss something? And then the planet says, okay, and goes forward again. And that's how I think of retrogrades. They're checking, what did I miss? And then they go forward again. And Neptune has already gone past that opposition. Mm-hmm. And now it's backtracking. It's seeing if there's something it missed. Mm-hmm. Same way with Pluto. Pluto being power. Think of plutonium. Can warm the city or it can make it uninhabitable. Mm-hmm. That power, the Pluto return in the U.S. chart, it went through, but it went past. And even it backed up, and now it's moving forward again. So my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is we've kind of been through the worst of it.
Well, the only counterpoint to that is that okay, so if you go on Neptune, it's going to station opposite. Mm-hmm. But I noticed that there's this thing, called precession, where the sky is constantly moving, so that if a person is born in whatever year and you look 72 years later, what happens is by that age, there's a 1 degree lag. Like the sky is such that where your location was back then is now a degree forward, right? So then you get these lags in the transits where things seem to happen a little bit later than they're supposed to, and it's because of that lag. Well, the US is 246 years old, so now you get a 3 degree lag. So then you have to add 3 degrees to everything, so the transits get extended. So we're still on the Neptune opposition even next year, it's still there. And the Pluto return, it's still in play, because Pluto, if you position it by precession, it's like almost a little bit into Aquarius. So you're looking at next year for sure. So, people often look just straight at the degree and say, okay, that's it. That's the Pluto return. I think we've been on the Pluto return the last couple of years, and we'll still be in it next year. It has that feeling of everything is up in the air, and, you can't win anything outright because people don't accept anything. It's just really, really turbulent at the moment. But yes. I'm not saying by saying that we're going to be taken over by the insurrectionists or anything. I'm just saying that I would be, again, completely amazed.
Oh no, yeah, I'm totally I think that's fascinating, and it makes perfect sense. I get questions often. Are we going into a civil war? Are we going into And my feeling is that this is it.
We're in it.
This
I
is
think we're in
this
this
is yeah. This is our civil war. You know.
Because in a way, if you think about it, it's still really disturbing when you see, like, for instance, that Paul Pelosi thing. That's a civil war act. That's someone
Yes.
just acting out completely out of his mind and rattling everybody. And I mean, they're not. It's pretty stupid if you. What are you going to do? Form an army? And like, look what happened to the FBI guy. He decides, I'm going to hit on the FBI. That's a great way to get killed. So that's what happened to him. So, and what are the odds that people are going to form a group and what are they going to attack? What, the local army barracks? I mean, how does this even work? So it's more likely to be this kind of thing, or also things like intimidation at the ballot boxes. I mean, really ugly energy that it feels just really grungy, you know. And to me, we're in it already, you know. And so,
well, we've been joking for a while. They were joking for a while on Twitter, and a few years ago, because the Republicans were accusing Democrats of civil war or something like that, and so Twitter just went to town, and it was all, "My dearest Annabelle, we have taken the Starbucks, but we are running dangerously low on decaf." You know, it's just like, really?
yeah.
I remember that. That was glorious. That was
Yes.
absolutely glorious. Yes.
Yes. And as far as these idiot guys trying to scare people, it's good that I don't live near that, because it would be all I could do to not borrow my parents' SUV and then like go down there and like rent like a really cool like Loki costume or something really extravagant and be there. Just, it's like, hey, you guys are here, I can be here too, you know. And just because just pointing out how ridiculous they are is I think a good way. But anyway, so I like I said, I get questions about, are we going into this big scary thing? And it's like, we are in our own kind of battle, but it's not going to be, it's not going to be 1860.
No.
The other thing I noticed about this eclipse is that it's actually forming very nice angles to the U.S. sun.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And that means that the moon and Uranus over here sextiles tend to be a very kind of an energizing, lovely, energizing. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But and then the trine, 120 degrees, tends to be a very a lovely laid back energy. And but an eclipse is a lot of power, but it's giving positive power to our very sense of self as a nation. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah, that's definitely a good outlet for sure to the pressure of the eclipse. Definitely.
Yeah.
The degree is 16. What is it? Is it
13. Yeah, the eclipse is at 16, and the U.S. sun is at 1319.
Yeah, which by the logic of what I said earlier about the precession thing, that eclipse is precisely trying the corrected U.S. sun. So yeah, that's a really good one for sure, right?
Oh, good.
The only thing is, though, kind of wonder what that would do, because I guess maybe take some of the pressure off potentially. Of the eclipse, because it's cutting across the U.S. Those are institutional houses. The 612 is where the institutions are. So, but I mean, I wouldn't put anything past these Republicans. I mean, I've never seen anything so out of whack with these people. You know, it's like they've taken the Kool-Aid and spiked it even more. It's just nuts what's going on in their thinking and in their saying things like, if I win this governorship, Democrats will never win again. Really? How does that work?
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, I forget, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, all right. So what I did was I started looking at some of the charts of the candidates in different races, and specifically in the sense of where is this eclipse going to be hitting them, because it's hitting them on election day, and I thought that was going to be like, normally that isn't something I'd be looking at because there wouldn't be one that day. I'd be looking at, you know, at their general transits. I'd be looking at maybe their synastry, like with governors, with maybe the state itself, or transits for that day based on the capitals of the states, or something like that. But I thought this was a big deal, so I created a bunch of charts because I'm me. And so I've got a couple here we could go through, and feel free in the chat, what have you, feel free to mock people who are mean. And yeah, anyway, so we're going to start here with Kari Lake. And I went over some of this. I went over a few of these the other day, but we're going to go over those, and we have some new ones. So I'm just making this a little bit smaller. So the thing about Kari Lake, who's running for governor of Arizona, is this is where the eclipse is, the square with Saturn. She's actually getting some positive aspects off of this, which doesn't set my heart on fire. It doesn't warm my heart. But for example, there's Mars here, which is in good aspect. However, that also means that this Mars is in conjunct the other end. So that may not be as good.
23rd of August, 69. So I see what's going on. Okay, so Saturn. Right.
So her actions when it comes to this end of the eclipse are disconnected. But that's you'd have to tell me what that is more exactly.
She's disconnected.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true. I did notice that where Pluto is in the sky, it's giving a trine to the Pluto in her chart, and the Mercury in her chart, which I don't want to be saying that she has good energy, because she's terrible.
The problem she has is that you see that Neptune, 26 Scorpio. So that Neptune, now we don't know, she could be a Virgo or a Leo, because she's either, almost certainly she'd be a Virgo, because she's born so that only about the first 3 or 4 hours she would be Leo. After that, she's Virgo. So odds are, she's going to be, since there are more hours in the day, she's probably a Virgo. But either way, that Neptune squares that sun geometrically. If it's Leo, it's worse because the energies are square. But even if it's Virgo, I still count it as a square. So that Neptune is a square energy planet. And I notice Neptune is really good for giving you either a victory or a disappointment. It's the kind of planet that relates a lot to your popularity. And the problem she has is Neptune is effectively transiting opposite of Mercury, because it already got that far in the summer. So Neptune is opposing this Mercury when she's trying to achieve this governorship thing. And I would think, I don't know, that's not super helpful, in my opinion. That's the kind of aspect that I wouldn't want to run on. But that's without a birth time. And so who knows? Maybe she has, I don't know. She has 27 degrees Pisces rising, and then Jupiter goes through there, and then that gives her the victory, right? So
you're saying that her, since her sun is somewhere around here, then Neptune is...
No, Neptune, okay. So Neptune you see where it is in transit, it's opposing her Mercury. Like not now in the sense that right now it's 22 degrees, but if you look in the ephemeris, Neptune got to, it got to 24. Let's see, it's stationed at 25, 26. That's pretty much, that's exactly where her Mercury is, right? So she is on a Neptune opposite Mercury transit. Doesn't matter that Neptune backtracked and it's a little away from it. Makes no difference. That's what she's on until Neptune gets beyond those degrees. So then you got to count that as a central aspect in her quest. And I don't think that's good, particularly because of the way her Neptune is wired in a square. Now, it does trine Venus, though. You could argue that way. You could say Neptune trines Venus. Maybe her Venus is a great career planet, or her Neptune is a great career planet, and maybe you can bypass the square to the sun. But that would not be my favorite aspect to run on if I see Neptune opposing something, because it's all too likely to deny you based on insufficient popularity, right? That's been my thing with that. But again, don't put a lot of, don't make a major bet on this, because having an ascendant is kind of important. And unless you have one, I don't have an ascendant for her.
No, I've ascendants on, I have the birth times on very few of these. And even when I was putting in the, even when I was putting in the T-square of the eclipse and what have you, a lot of these I was able to just cut and paste them in because I didn't have birth times for most of them. But anyway, so she's there. I mean, there's some positive energy there. I'm also, while I'm here, I'm just looking at this, I'm trying to get a sense of what kind of person she is.
What kind of person
because,
she is? Are you kidding? You have to ask that? I'll tell you what okay. She's a fraud. Someone is a fraud. Anyone who first votes for Obama enthusiastically and then switches to Trump, I'm sorry, but there's nothing to discuss. She's straight in the garbage bin. I'm sorry, nothing, zero. In my opinion.
Oh no, she's awful. I think we can totally agree. She is awful. What I was looking at was her moon is up here, and even with you not having a birth time, it's
Capricorn.
She's Capricorn, and Capricorn is about status. When Capricorn goes bad, it's all about status and materialism and look at me, I'm so important. Getting higher than others, and that she has this emotional need to be higher than others. And boy, she's not. One of the things I did, let me see if I pull this all the way to the front, is because I was trying to cover up some of the original stuff here so I could point specific stuff out. But I don't have the original chart. I've just got transits. Fair enough. So I can't point that out. All right. So if she's a Virgo, then you get when Virgo goes bad, you get the meticulous, petty, what I would think of as like a Virgo sun sense of self and a Capricorn moon. If those go really, really bad, I would think you'd get something like a Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter. Where they want status and all this, but they're so picky about the details and having no thinking outside the box kind of thing. So it actually surprises me that her Venus, what and how she loves is in Cancer, which tends to be like big mom or emotional. So all I can think is, I overbearing when Cancer goes bad. I think it's the Pluto. The Pluto.
Micromanaging?
Well, because if you check, odds are pretty good. She could be Leo, but odds are pretty good. She's Virgo, and even if she isn't, she still has Mercury in Virgo. But if she is, Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, and Mercury is conjunct Pluto. Pluto is the fascist. That's where you start to do overbearing, Plutonian domination games, and that's what Trump does with that rising Pluto of his. He's constantly projecting only me, and it's the Mussolini Hitler thing. Pluto is that way. It's a fascist energy. So if you put it next to a planet, important planet, it's the way she thinks. Mercury, conjunct Pluto. So and now even if she's Leo, though, doesn't matter because Mercury will still be there. But if she is Virgo, that's a extra boost in that sense. And you were right that Pluto trining it, that's good. It's a good moment for sure from Capricorn, but Neptune opposing it isn't. So it's a pretty big counterpoint, to this.
Yes. And also if this Pluto is the fascism and it's in the same place as her communication, then at 24 degrees here, it's going to be it's sextile this Venus, which means that what and how she loves is going to be linked into this potentially fascist energy.
Yeah, and also, I mean, to be fair to her, Pluto, Mercury, sextile Venus, when you put Venus like that to Mercury, it's the ability to speak softly, to speak elegantly, because the Venus is the planet of smooth beauty and, aesthetics. So it's really good for sales. And she's a person with a lot of TV experience.
Mhm.
So this is, I think, the reason Katie Hobbs wouldn't debate her. I would have debated her. I would have loved to debate Kari Lake. It would have taken me 10 minutes, because a person like that, you go straight to her and say, let's talk about what you said. Let's just talk about what you said. I mean, how hard is it, right? Just bring up all the things she said. They're totally numbnuts, and as soon as you make that clear, then she's not going to look as good. But Katie didn't want to debate her, Katie thought, I'm scared or whatever. I don't know. He said, I can't give her a platform. Give her a platform. Let her talk,
Yeah. And speaking of Katie Hobbs, here's her chart, and there's the eclipse and the square there. She's got Pluto just a little bit later at 27 here, so again we're up around opposite Jupiter. So Jupiter is over here opposite Pluto, so Jupiter tends to be the great beneficent, what's the word I'm looking for? Beneficent?
Benefic, yeah.
Yes.
Benevolent? Sorry.
And it's expansive, and it can also be a blowhard, but it tends to be a good thing opposite her Pluto. I don't know, maybe.
Wait, which are you talking about?
She's got Jupiter transiting across from her
Opposite
Pluto.
Pluto. Yeah, that one is, it could be problematic, but I think the thing with her that's really interesting is look at that Pluto trine Mercury. She has that at birth, and Pluto now is over Mercury. So
Right. I was just about to pull this up, and
that tends to be a very nice. That's the kind of aspect you want at a moment when you are trying to assume some kind of power, because Pluto is power. So a conjunction to a planet that it likes at birth because it trines, I would consider that quite nice, and then her Saturn being a Capricorn trining her sun, it's going to be a less problematic Saturn than if it were square or something like that. But I don't see what the Saturn is doing. It's kind of sitting there in Aquarius now. It's sort of lost in there's no great connection. But I think the Pluto it overcomes or balances out the Jupiter opposing Pluto. I think. If I had to guess, that'd be my yeah.
I did notice that the eclipse itself is in very good aspects to her nodes.
To her nodes. Oh, I see, from Virgo Pisces. Yeah. That I don't know. The thing with the nodes, what do you get from the nodes and transits? Because I find when I transit the nodes, the only thing I notice with transits to nodes is that they can connect you to people, that you have certain karma with. They have a kind of a connection that way, but it's hard for me to make any conclusions from saying politician has Jupiter going over a node or a planet opposing it. I don't know what to say about that. But if you've discovered something, let me know. And
Oh yeah, I
try to
absolutely. And also that Jupiter we're talking about here is, hang on, do I have the right thing?
Scorpio, 2 degrees.
9. Yeah, it's trining her Neptune in her chart. So,
Wait, trining or Neptune? Oh, I see. And yeah, okay. So that great. See, so that's a great example. Jupiter opposite Pluto, trine Neptune. That's actually a really nice alignment, because Jupiter trine Neptune is the kind of thing that I would interpret as people giving you the nod, because there's a popularity connection. Neptune is like almost like the fad. It's like if people all start wearing a certain type of clothing or something, suspect Neptune, because Neptune has this way of getting into that. And so politicians do really well when Neptune is on their side and do really poorly when it's against them. That's the general sense. That's another reason why I've been positive about this election, because Biden's Neptune is in really good shape, the transit he has, as well as the Jupiter and so forth. So I would say that spotting that one is really good, in my opinion. Jupiter, because the whole month of November, it's 28, 29, even in December is still trying.
So looking at these two charts, which would you, or does one or the other jump out at you as being more?
Well, I did a video where I picked Kari Lake, so I'm basically I have my neck out there. I chose her, even though honestly, it's one of those where if you put a gun to my head, I'd say, okay, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not completely sure based on no time. But that's what I said in the video, that I thought if you balance out everything that is here, sorry, did I say Lake? I picked Katie Hobbs. That's what I meant.
Okay, I was going to say that's kind of where I was leaning toward Hobbs, but
yeah, that's what I meant to say. No. Yeah, I basically said that given the two, I picked Hobbs, but this is an example where the polls and the things we've been hearing keep pointing to Lake. So
well, they're neck and neck at the moment.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So it isn't all Lake, and even the pollsters were saying, Sarah, didn't you see in the news this morning the pollsters themselves saying?
Yeah, the pollsters themselves were like, we have no clue what the heck we're talking about. So if we're messed up, the person that's going to be the least surprised is us. Like, we have no clue. We have no idea what we're doing. And it's that kind of election cycle. It's just bizarre. So
I believe it.
I mean, I'm almost counting on when you brought up the Uranus earlier, and the notion that there's a way, if you interpret this, how it's turned out in the last couple of months around the media, there was a point where they were saying, oh, Democrats are ahead. Then they started saying, no, the Republicans. So now there's this expectation that the Republicans should win. But where that Uranus is placed is perfectly located for a shock, where things turn out really differently. And then you're going to get, because these people are not going to accept it. I'm telling you. I think part of what they've done, which is really clever and extremely devious, is they use their media platforms to create this expectation so that if they lose, they can claim fraud, because they'll go, well, how can this be happening? The polls were saying, look, how can so-and-so had a 5-point lead and then they lost, and, things like that. So that's what I'm worried about.
Well, they're already going to the courts and saying that certain mail-in ballots shouldn't be accepted.
Yeah, no, the question is why, though. I mean, the arguments they make, it's just so crazy. Like with Kari Lake and people like that, there was fraud. Where's the fraud? Do you have any evidence? Right. I know you said you were in the river. Did you see any? Do you have any evidence? I mean, please, come on.
Exactly. But isn't it in Pennsylvania where they've already said if there's the judge ruled that if a mail-in ballot doesn't have the date, if the person forgot to date it, you can't count the ballot.
Right, but okay, how many is that going to be? Is that going to be like 100 ballots? No.
Yeah, hopefully that won't be many, but that's just frustrating.
Yeah, it is. But if you just count by the way, mail voting is the safest way to vote, because when you vote by mail, you sign and you put your information. And if people have been prosecuted for doing that, it's really dangerous to cast a ballot you're not supposed to cast. So it's paper evidence. It's the safest way to go. Even if you get some small percentage, if someone forgot the date, whatever, that you're still going to get the bulk of votes, coming in. And good luck with that, because that's going to count against whichever party isn't doing well voting by mail, which in this case is probably Republicans, because the Orange Menace put in their head that they should never vote by mail anymore. So now a lot of the early voting is probably Democrat, and so is the mail. So.
I think that should be like the sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You please go ahead.
I think that should be like the slogan for this election. Like, good luck with that. Like that. That's pretty much just good luck with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the thing is, if Democrats could just realize that you have to vote, always vote, because there are more Democratic votes. And the sad part of all this is you can trace this back all the way to 2000, and every single loss has been through insufficient Democratic vote, because even with all the restrictions they've tried to implement, it's not enough to put a brake on massive, voting by Democrats, because there are more Democrats, because the country still has more people with common sense. That's basically it. Maybe that'll change, but for now, that's a fact. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, absolutely. So, and moving on to Florida, the governor's race there, I was looking at Charlie Crist's chart, and it actually it has some good stuff in it.
Do you like it?
In general, but he's still, do we pay any attention to the polls? Because if you listen to the polls at all, he's like at 42%, and DeSantis is at 56. So that's a lot. But if you look at these two charts, let's have just a quick look here. Now, the one thing that's kind of hard is that Crist at birth has both his Venus here and his Mars there caught up in this square between transiting Mars and Neptune up here. So, ouch. But this Mars is in this transiting is in a good aspect to Neptune here. It's in a good aspect to Pluto there. Jupiter is transiting Jupiter's in good aspect to his Sun, which in his chart is conjunct his Uranus. And Pluto up here is in good aspect to his Saturn. It's not all bad. Just I do see some good things there. We don't have a birth time though, so I don't know if his moon really is it right here. I'm a little concerned. It's his moon is caught up in the T-square. But what do you think? If you see a chart sort of like this, do you have any initial thoughts?
Well, I compared it to DeSantis, and they both have an Aquarius thing, because let me see what I've got here. I calculated
DeSantis's chart.
Well,
is it around 22? Whereas the moon here.
Well, the moon of DeSantis is from 15 to almost the end. So the moon can be anywhere from 15 Aquarius to almost 30 Aquarius, or like right at the end, 2954. And Crist, it's between, he's got an Aquarius moon too, 15 to 27. So it's like the same. These two are both experiencing that moon getting pressure. So on that, we're not going to get any result. Then DeSantis, again, no birth time for DeSantis or Crist. DeSantis is a Virgo. It's not particularly great on that. Pluto is squaring his Mars. That's not particularly great either. But I don't know his ascendant, and that could make all the difference. And then they both have Leo planets. Crist has Sun, Uranus, Mercury, and DeSantis has Jupiter. Now on that, if I went on the Leo, I like Crist's chances because Jupiter is effectively trining that area because it's been trining it and it's going to trine it again. And often you see these things. There's the election night, but then it's the energy following after that. The problem is, though, that who knows where DeSantis' Jupiter is. This is one that is really hard to call. And I'll tell you, the polls may be off, but if you're back 14 points, now that's pretty hard to overcome. I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
but 42 to 56. I mean, my Lord, that would be like a total earthquake if Crist won this race because he's way back.
Well, we'll have to see, I guess, but it looked like he had a lot of hang on, where did I have my notes here? I don't want anything good to happen to
DeSantis.
Oh yeah, this morning on my live stream, I showed DeSantis's latest political ad. God created a fighter, or as I was saying, God created a cruel narcissist.
Oh.
It is the most. Have you seen this, Andre? Have you seen the ad?
I haven't, but I wouldn't put it past this guy. Yeah, he's kind of on the Trump train without being as completely reckless, but no one can match Trump for that. So that doesn't say much. Yeah. Certainly, I mean, look, he was sending immigrants, under a lie, basically. I mean, the man is out there. So yeah, I wouldn't. What did he say? What was today's outrage?
Oh, the whole thing was pictures of him and this voice speaking over the whole thing, saying, "God created a fighter, someone who in the morning would kiss his family goodbye and go out and help the people." And the whole thing, the whole ad was like that. And mothers help mothers so that they can stay at work, their children can stay at school, and they can be there to hold the hands of the elderly, their loved ones who are taking their last breath. And it's like, well, because you killed them. It's just, Oh my gosh, the whole thing is so painful.
Yeah. I had actually thought, I didn't think, to tell you the truth, that, I can cop to this, that I did videos on DeSantis, but again, without a time. I remember back in 2020, and I thought he was at risk in this election because that's when I knew he'd be up for re-election. But, and I was looking at some of these problems with the planets and whatever, but I don't know. This gap is so big that this is why I wouldn't bet on. I wouldn't bet on at all because it's looking pretty grim. One of the things is when you see polls where both are in the 40s, there's latitude because there's a gap of voters you don't even know which way they'll go. But once you start seeing someone in the mid 50s,
Sarah, have you seen the polls? Am I missing something? If you wouldn't mind having a quick look.
Sure, no problem. Pull that up right.
I would love to be wrong. Okay.
The average is 12 points. RCP average 12 point.
Yeah. 12.1. Mm-hmm.
12.1.
DeSantis is at 54.5 and Crist is at 42.4. And that's according to 538.com.
So, and RCP, which is Real Clear Politics, has the same thing, 54.3 to 42.2. They're agreeing, it's, So.
Yeah. But I do have a sense of his, I have to look at his chart going forward because I don't know, the energy around him, it does not feel as potent as it was there for a while. So as far as him, like, he's going to run for president and he's going to do all these things, I don't know how much success he's going to have with that. But anyway, all right. So I had a couple charts for the Senate where I had in Arizona. Now I actually haven't had a chance to look at this yet, but I did put this in here. We've got Mark Kelly versus Blake Masters.
Kelly is the Democrat incumbent. Yes.
But it looks like, hang on, let me make this a little easier to see through. His Mercury is caught up in this whole T-square. Is just kind of the first thing that jumps out at me.
Mark Kelly. That's the inside, okay, the inside of the chart, right?
Yeah, we do have a birth time for him.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Is it
Mhm. It's 8:30 or 8:03.
No, I'm afraid I need to leave.
Oh, no, that's fine.
My
Oh, no,
apologies.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you for stopping by.
Oh, no, that
Appreciate
was a pleasure. And let's all keep our fingers crossed. And, you know, what can I say?
We'll be okay.
It's
We'll
tight.
be okay.
Yeah. Pins and needles. All right.
Absolutely.
Bye,
Thank you for
everybody.
stopping by. Okay.
Bye.
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 All right. So back to this.
Yes. As a personal note, I love Mark Kelly. He's married to Gabby Giffords.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and then he and his twin brother were both astronauts. His twin brother, I think, still
Okay.
is. And his twin brother was the one who just did a couple of years ago the 1 year at the space station. Did a whole year, and there was a documentary on it. So I love the Kelly brothers. Like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how I missed that, but I really did. I really missed that, didn't I? Yeah, this is a big. This Mercury is being hit really hard, but at the same time, Jupiter. That's kind of it's a minor aspect, but positive minor aspect to his Sun. Where is his? Oh, what's this? What's under here? Neptune. Okay, so this is yikes. He's got this eclipse is hitting his Neptune,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hitting, and this square, this big T square is hitting his Mercury. So that's a lot of energy. That's a lot of tension.
And that's red, and red is no bueno, right? Okay.
Well,
I feel bad because you were sitting here with Andre, and Andre knows all this stuff, and then you've got me, and I'm just like, I got fruit snacks. I mean,
no. I'm so grateful for you, Sarah. You have
no,
no idea.
you're fine. No. I'm happy to be here, but I'm just like, so.
No. Okay. The see, I need my I need these. I need my lines. Okay, hang on, let me go down here. See, there's good stuff here too, because where the eclipse is at 16 degrees, is in a positive, energizing aspect to his Pluto. So his sense of his where he feels power.
Right.
So that's going to be good, and then that's going to be trying the other, because of that, it's going to be trying the other end of the other side of the eclipse, and that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh, sorry. And
you're
yeah.
good. So the blue kind of like offsets the red, and okay, I feel better about this. Oh, and thank you, Adelia. You might. Well, okay. That may be a very naive thing for me to say, but if I'm looking,
Mark Kelly's doing better in the polls than Masters, and his astrology overall is a little bit better. Down here for Masters, if I go down here, like I said, it's just so everybody knows, some of these charts I haven't looked at yet. So I'm just kind of hitting on these. I'm just hitting my initial reactions. For Blake Masters, Pluto is very much opposite. I mean, like down to the minute, practically 26 degrees. The Jupiter is opposite his Mercury, so his ability to communicate is really getting dug up, and might get better at times. And then I don't know if he's been putting his foot in his mouth or what's been going on there. But
he is an actual Trump endorsed candidate, so the probability of foot and mouth is high.
Okay, all right. Well, the one thing I don't think is probably very good for him is sometimes it tries to attach itself to the okay, that'll just have to do. His sun, his sense of self over here in Leo at 13 degrees, and his moon is somewhere in this ballpark, but
right.
We can just look at the sun. Well, the eclipse is at 16 degrees, and as we always say, each one of these wedges is 30 degrees, so 3,
right.
6, 9. So his sense of self is caught on the other side of this T-square, and that makes what is called, dun dun dun, it is called a grand square. And grand squares are about as much tension and horribleness as you can imagine. It's incredibly tense, and these 4 signs, because it's linking.
Right.
Aquarius up here, Leo there, Scorpio, and Taurus. These are the fixed signs.
Okay.
These are in each quadrant of a chart. You've got the first sign in the quadrant, which is the I'm taking charge. I'm going into this quadrant. I'm doing the things. I act. Then you have the middle sign, which is this is my quadrant. I'm not moving. I am fixed here. You're not moving me. Very stubborn, very but enduring. And then the last sign in each quadrant is, well, I'm getting all loosey-goosey because we're about to go into a new quadrant. So let's try. Let's be flexible. That kind of thing. Well, right. This entire T-square, this huge thing of tension, where this eclipse is happening and what have you, this is hitting his very sense of self. And that's kind of brutal. Oh, thank you, Kathy N. Thank you.
Very sweet.
So that's not good for him.
No, but I'm looking at the company he keeps in.
Yes.
My mama always used to say, if you lay with dogs, you get fleas. So if he's having a bad day, I'm so sorry.
Well, yes. Also, because hidden under here, is Neptune. And Neptune can be kind of, in a sense, Neptune can be kind of where you have some luck in life. Some kind of in that area often. Not always, but often. Well, Neptune his Jupiter is at 21 degrees here. Okay. Good old lucky Jupiter. Well, Neptune, which dissolves, is on top of that Neptune. And Mars in the sky, god of war, is squaring that Jupiter.
Rose would like to know, is that 3 T-squares?
3 T-square. No, a grand cross is think of a cross. It's 90. Everything's either 90 degrees or 180 degrees from everything else. So technically, it would be 4.
Oh, snap-a-doodle!
If you think about it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Suburban Housewife says Obama said Blake is like something cooked up in a lab by MAGA.
Lovely. Well, that's ugly
Mhm.
in his chart. That's ugly in his chart. That's not good in his chart. So Blake Masters in Arizona.
So
Yeah.
his whole chart can be translated into rutro raggy, right?
Yes, retro raggy. This
Rutro
does
raggy.
not look
Okay,
good for
cool.
him. And yeah, so I would, if I was going to venture a guess on this one, I would say that his opponent will win.
Yes.
I'd say Mark Kelly is going to win this one. Yeah.
Kevin, you were correct. Mark was career military and astronaut until Gabby was attacked. Yes. And also, Marjorie Laura, what Kelly has is being an astronaut. He cares about science, climate change, and of course, guns. So this, yeah, we need, and that's why he jumped in. If I remember correctly, gun control and whatnot, it definitely played a big part in his deciding to become a politician. So, but it looked, it warms my little heart to see that Kelly will be sticking around. Hopefully, at least it looks that way on paper. That's what, yeah.
Well, the astrology looks better for him.
Yes. We'll take it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let me clean this up just a second here, and then we'll look at this jerk. Who, if you ask me, he really lost that debate against Val Demmings. I mean, really lost that debate, in my opinion. So, the first thing that's jumping out at me is that Rubio's sun is, now Mars down here is 5 degrees away from the sun, but the sun is such a big deal, and it's so big that you can, anything within 10 degrees to either side is going to have an effect. So this Mars is hitting his sun, which can be very energizing, except it's also in a square over here to this Neptune. And what does Neptune do? God of the ocean, it dissolves. Like you drop something in the ocean, what's it going to do?
Right.
And that dissolving energy is in a grinding 90-degree angle with his sense of self.
Okay, so we know that I'm very visual. So basically, he's like the Wicked Witch getting water tossed on him, and he's melting. Oh, what a world.
Yeah, only there's a Mars here too, so I think there might be a beating with stick involved as well.
And he's getting took out by the monkeys as he's melting down. Great. Okay.
Sure. Okay, let's do that. Well, and the other thing is that this sense of self is because his sun is at 20 degrees and the big eclipse is at 16. Well, that's only 4 degrees away from an exact aspect to this next sign. And actually his Venus here at 17 is 30 degrees away from the eclipse. So this eclipse energy is affecting this. Now, 30 degrees is a minor, positive aspect. However, in order for it to be 30 degrees away here, it has to be 150 degrees away from the other side. And 150 degrees is called inconjunct. And that's where there's a disconnect. There is a disconnect. That's the one where I joke how it's like my love life. 2 ships passing in the night. No, seriously, but like literally, like I'm on this ship, it's the night, and the guy is like on the ship over there, and I kind of wave, and he kind of sees me and kind of waves, and then the ships keep going. That's inconjunct.
Okay.
they are aware of each other, but it just, there's no way to,
Right.
it just can't
Get there from here. Right.
yeah, you can't get there from here. So his sense of self is getting a little positive energy, but it's also getting a whole lot of so that's not great. But the real kicker, dun, 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 somebody has Uranus, the great rebel, 90 degrees from the eclipse. Yes, indeed, kids. Can you say Grand Cross again? Because for this to be there, to be square that means it is opposite this 18 degrees. So you have another grand square. Actually, I should probably just, that, you trust me, it's there. You got a grand square.
Look cool.
Um,
That's a lot of red.
yeah. So he's got that huge negative fixed energy too. Right there. That big stubborn cross of energy. There is some positive things up here in relation to it hitting his Saturn. So there is some of the eclipse energy does have a couple of positive places to dump out, but you've got a huge grand square, and the problem with grand squares is it makes it hard for that energy to dump out because there's so much more of it.
Right.
So there's some good stuff in here, like up here, and his moon's probably somewhere around there. That might be good. But oh my gosh. Yeah, that's gotta hurt a little. That's
gotta hurt there, Bob.
Yeah.
All
right.
Hey, Kristen, thank you for sharing new stuff. Just letting you know, she's not doing any readings tonight. It's just focused on the charts of stuff. So
yes, and thank you. So Val Demmings here.
Yes.
I'm guessing is. Do I have Val? Is this Val Demmings? Do I not have the chart? June 11th, 1960. Oh, this is not Val Demmings' chart.
Okay.
How do I not? Hang on. How do I not have Val Demmings' chart? Hang on. I've got to grab that. I don't know how that happened.
Okay. Well, I will check in with the chat while you work on that real quick. Yes, Cece. Kristen, we give you permission to stop watching Trump and change the channel to a cooking show if it'll make your head feel better. Absolutely. And I'm with you, Cheryl. I can't watch them anymore. They just
cooking shows.
Oh yes, no. You can't watch MAGA rallies.
Oh my gosh, you're watching the Trump rally? Oh dear.
Yeah, Kristen is. Yeah.
Oh bless.
And Dr. Nancy, I'm sorry you had to go, sweetheart. If you come back, we'll be okay. Rose asks, does that mean that he's being crucified, Marco?
No. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think a Grand Cross is being crucified, but it's a whole lot of tense. It would be more like being in shackles. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, so he's got to go. He's going to have to work 10 times as hard to get an inch as far with that kind of, yeah. Fire Queen said that eclipse hit your copy and paste. LOL. Yes. Oh
Yes.
goodness.
So I've almost got it here.
You're good.
Like I said, everybody, we're just doing, it's a relaxed thing.
We're just hanging out. Yep.
Yeah, because frankly, what else would we do? Would we be just stressing? This is so much better than stressing.
Very much so.
So. All right. Put that in the back. Get rid of whatever this is. Okay. So this is Val Demmings' chart.
Woohoo! Okay, cool.
Oh, her sense of self is getting sucked right into this tension of this. That's not good. So her sense of self is caught up in this mess, this square. And it's kind of this Neptune is when you have Neptune go over your sun, that Neptune is diffuses, you know, and this is going over her sense of self. It can things that you thought about yourself, things that you were sure about yourself, you know, it's like let's do a little x-ray here. Let's do a little looking inside, and let's weaken some of those barriers, boundaries, definitions, so that you can get a better sense of yourself. And it's 90 degrees from Mars. So Mars is also with a square there is also being very, it's like you're being poked as well of so that's her sense of self is probably taking a beating. Here, all right, what's underneath this little gem? Okay, so these are minor, these are asteroids. So she's got some asteroids conjunct Saturn here, but that's not as big a deal. Here we have, okay, this is good. We've got her Uranus, and our moon's probably somewhere around there, but that's in a positive aspect to this Jupiter. So that's good. And Jupiter is in conjunct Neptune over here. Okay, I think this is the more important thing here. Okay. Because right up here, her Venus and her Mercury, so what and how you love and her communications are in positive aspects with this eclipse.
Cool. Shockwave, she's not doing questions tonight, but you can bring that tomorrow. And yes,
yeah.
I've got folks where you're talking about in Dangerfield and all that. And so yeah, there's those storms did do a number, but we can ask about all that tomorrow. We're just going over charts for the election tomorrow at the moment. But thank you for coming to see.
Thank you.
And hanging out.
Okay, and Pluto up here, transiting Pluto, is a really exact positive aspect to her Mars. So her taking actions, and so that's the as you know, power plutonium. It's transiting. It's giving really good energy to her Mars. So in her taking action, so it will be effective action. So that's good. There is one. This isn't so nice. Her Neptune, her bit of luck over here, is opposite Neptune in the sky, which can make her more lucky and then less lucky, and then more lucky and then less lucky, because it just starts disturbing that equilibrium. Yeah. So there is that, but it's not being hit by the eclipse.
Let me see what the latest. see what the latest polls are. The latest polls have Rubio at 52.3 and Demmings at 43.5. Then again, as we learned this morning, the pollsters are pretty much just like throwing everything in the air, and we're like, yeah. So,
she herself has her Mars and her Jupiter. So her how she takes action and her great beneficent over here, they're at positive aspects to each other. Well, Pluto's moved along here, and now it has created, we talked about the Grand Cross.
mhm.
Let me introduce you to the Grand Trine. Let me move this back.
Looks like an episode of Charmed now. I'm confused. All the
Well, like I said, I just want to get these out of the way for a second so you can see
Hey,
it.
lucky girl.
Hey, lucky girl. Okay. 27 degrees, 26 degrees, 26 degrees. So this is quite close. All right.
Okay.
In the
Mhm.
way, when you've got a grand cross where everything's at right angles to everything else in opposition,
Mhm.
a trine at 120 degrees. In general, when you have a trine between two things, that's you're on the inflatable tube in the summer, and you're just floating
the
down
lazy
gently
river.
down the
Yeah.
river, the lazy
Yeah.
river, and it's this wonderful energy. If you have too much of it, you can even get lazy. But well, I've known a couple of people who had like luminaries caught up in this grand trine, like their whole chart
Mhm.
looked like a grand trine, and they were successful because they had confidence, because everything was just reinforcing everything else. Like, I'm great.
Right.
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, you're great. Yeah, I am. Yeah, you're great. Yeah, I am. But this is really empowering her sense, her expansiveness, her openness, her actions. That's lovely. And let me tell you, I'll take a grand trine off of over a grand cross any day of the week.
So, are you leaning towards Val?
Her chart is just better than his. It just is. I don't. She's just got more good stuff.
Well,
But her sense of self is taking a beating here. That's astrologically, this is just better. It just is. As opposed to that, yeah. His Rubio's sense of self is caught up in the eclipse itself,
all right.
and in a way that just overlooks him and just ugh. Whereas she's having trouble with her sense of self here, but that has to do with this square.
All right.
That's not the eclipse. So I have to say Val. Yeah. And I won't go into it because it's getting kind of late, but I'd already looked at Warnock and Herschel Walker. What were we just talking about? A grand cross? Well, this is his nodes down here. And Andres did say he's not sure about the nodes having an effect, but certainly Walker has his Mercury caught up in all of this. So put your foot in your mouth. It's his communication, how people are going to perceive his communication could be kind of ugly.
Walker?
Yeah. Yeah, but the eclipse itself is sending some good energy to his sun, so his sense of self. It's 4
The
degrees
last thing
away.
that man needs is a bigger ego.
Exactly. Exactly.
So and then how was Warnock's looking?
Warnock here is Neptune is across from his Pluto. So that dissolving force is opposite his own sense of power. So it can feel stronger and weaker and stronger and weaker. He's got underneath here. Okay, that's a node. So we can ignore that for the moment. This Saturn, which is under all this pressure from the eclipse, is actually in a positive aspect to his Venus. That's good.
Okay. Awesome.
Matter of fact, that Saturn's probably like, oh, thank you. thank you for giving me a good aspect. Oh. Neptune in the sky with power is in positive aspect to it. Sorry, Pluto in the sky here is in positive aspect to his Neptune.
We dig that.
Yeah. I mean, and Jupiter, big expansive Jupiter, is in a positive aspect to his sense of self. So
on paper,
it comes down to whether you think the eclipse will have an effect on the nodes. Andre's not sure, so we should go with Andre. I would think.
Are you calling this one too close?
Let me just have a quick look. What else? Am I missing something? Oh no, his Neptune is actually right underneath this. The dream of Herschel Walker, the idealist, the dream people have of him, is being blasted. It's right in the middle of this eclipse. I'm going for Warnock. Yeah, what people have thought of him is just being kapluied.
Okay.
And that also means the Saturn here is square that, and the moon up here, and Uranus over here is opposite that. So the dream of people have of Herschel Walker. Like if you meet somebody, and because how I learned what I know about astrology started pretty early in life, and I'm not not too proud to admit it had a lot to do with meeting or seeing a good-looking guy or a cute guy somewhere, and then you look up everything you can about him. And I learned a lot that way over the years. I'm not going to lie, and apparently I've heard I'm not alone in that.
Not at all.
Wanting to know a little bit more about that person. If your Venus, what and how you love, is in the same place as that person's Neptune, the dream of them is right over what and how you love, so they cast a spell on
Rose says, I see 2 trines and 3 squares.
There we go.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So with that Neptune, it can cast that spell. People had a view of Herschel Walker until now. He was able to get away with a bunch of stuff. because people saw the dream.
Mm-hmm.
But this is sending 8,000 volts through that dream. And it's cracking.
Never meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd go for Warnock on this one. So.
Well, I'd go for Warnock just for, like.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm just on the astrologically.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. But I am tired. And it was so kind of Andre to come by.
It was.
And also, Sarah, I cannot thank you enough. You have just gone above and beyond in helping me through all of October. Excuse me, all of this election stuff. Sarah has been my best friend for a decade. And
wouldn't trade a second of it.
Yeah, and I've told this story before, but I just want to mention it again because in those years there have been times it was dark where I was. It was dark, and I didn't know if there was a way out. I mean, I was never going to do anything crazy,
right.
But I was trapped in myself, in my heart, in my head, and in all of this. And this lady right here, she would just call me every day and just encourage me and tell me I was a good person and that I had a good future.
Of course you do.
And just out of the sheer goodness of her heart. And I will never be able to repay that. And so I just want to say publicly how wonderful you are and how grateful I am that you're my friend. So that's all. Jen Lynn's been here. Sorry.
You're about to make me just start blubbering right here on Al Gore's internet.
No, we're good. We're good. Jen Lynn, I gotta go watch the beginning now. Oh, hello, Jen Lynn. All right. Well, anyway, and thank you again to Andre for stopping by.
Yes.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
I get a bit tongue-tied though because he's so knowledgeable, but I just want to learn.
Well, I mean, okay. Here's the thing. I come and I hang out with you, right? Like occasionally, but I know you. Like we have been friends for 10+ years.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I've seen other folks on the YouTubes, and I hear you talk about how great other people are. And then, I've seen here and there. And so when other people come on screen, I'm like, what do I do? I don't know. What do I do? And so Andre popped up and I was like, oh, it's an adult. I'm going to back up now.
No, you're wonderful.
No. And I mean that in the best way. But I was just like, I don't know what to do. It's sort of like on Talladega Nights. It's like, I don't know where to put my hands. I'm like, I don't know. And I was kind of like that the other day when you were getting ready on your birthday. And of course I was sick. But when Jen Lynn popped on before you went on and I was helping you wrap up everything, and I was just like, oh, it's and she's and I look and I'm
you are wonderful.
Yay! No, I know that, but I guess for lack of a term, I get a little starstruck, so it's kind of cool. So yes, because you have like the coolest people that hang out with you. So
well,
because you're a good person too.
Oh,
so like attracts like. You're cool. You attract cool people.
Well, Jen Lynn is pretty awesome.
Yes,
I mean, like really awesome.
Yes.
Like, there are, I don't do personal readings, but I highly recommend Jen Lynn Tarot. She is so good. And she's gone with Linda G on these, like the Sedona trips and all of this kind of stuff, and teaching. Cool. And yeah, Jen Lynn is all that. And she has kittens.
Yes.
She has all of that. She has all that spirituality, all that power, all that knowledge, and she has kittens.
And babies. Yes. And the fur babies. Yes.
So, yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight. But please do remember to breathe. If you're stressed tonight, keep this in mind. All right. When it comes to fear, two things. One, there's a lot of physical response to fear. So if you can, try to figure out like where in your body are you carrying it? Are you feeling it in your chest? Are you feeling it in your shoulders? You know, is it is it like pressure on your forehead? And just give that, send some positive energy to that point. And remember to breathe, because that breath, getting good, slow, deep breaths is going to help immensely. Just getting that is in. Now, the other thing is sometimes it can help to think briefly, only briefly, about what's the worst that can happen. Okay? Briefly.
I can't tell my brain that.
What?
Other people can. I'm just not built that way.
No. Just hear me out. Hear me out.
Yes, ma'am. I'm listening.
Because what they've said is most likely if Republicans gain any power,
yeah,
they'd gain power in the House, right? And Kevin McCarthy will probably become Speaker of the House if that happened. And he can't do squat.
This is true.
He can't do squat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of, Biden's things, obviously we won't be able to get through there, but he's they're just, and he's going to be getting grief from the far right. Is going to be Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to be giving him grief, and they're going to make a lot of noise. They would make a lot of noise about like, oh, Hunter Biden's laptop. There is no laptop. You can go ahead, waste taxpayer monies doing your stupid investigation of a Russian plant that is total garbage. Seriously. We're not going to lose our democracy.
This is true. This is absolutely true.
We're not going to lose our democracy, and we are going to be okay. And we're in this together. And just like with every of the other elections, we'll be able to vote again. So there's no reason to be kind of stressing out and have some tea, have some cuddles, maybe a little chocolate if you can, something. I haven't had my dinner. It's 8:45. Have you had your dinner?
No.
Oh, Sarah, I'm so sorry.
No.
Oh, sorry.
I'm hanging out with my bestie. I'm good.
Oh, gosh.
Good.
Well, I have leftover Chinese from my birthday yesterday.
Oh,
so,
yay.
Veggie fried rice, big chunky veggie fried rice with no egg, add cashews. It's so good. So I'm gonna go heat up some good Chinese food. I'm gonna sit in the great chair of happiness with the little fuzz head. Jen Lynn says I'm doing kitty therapy tonight. Oh, yes. Oh, and you guys are gonna get some food too. And CC Ryder, I agree. I refuse to consider Plan B. Democrats all the way. Absolutely. I'm just saying, sleep tonight. Rest. Yeah. Put your head down and know that the universe loves you.
Absolutely.
And we are all pieces of the divine. All right. Just keep that in mind. All right. So that's going to do it. But I will be back at noon tomorrow. Thank you again, Sarah. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Take care. Thank you, everybody. And rest well. Okay. Thank you, lucky girl. Thank you.